Remember as a kid how you made your own movies by drawing little figures on the pages of a pad and flipping the pages to make the figures move? That's the basic principle behind animated pictures today.
Now, I'll be your host and guide as we journey together along the rambunctious road to comic book artists. Let's start drawing.
So let's go. So my guest today, we go way back from our Wildstorm days. He's the other Ryan that was at Wildstorm.
Yes.
And it's Ryan Benjamin. Welcome.
Yay! I can hear the applause right now.
Yeah. We'll put that in post.
It's in my head. So.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
So I guess we'll just start from the beginning. Like, where'd you come from? Where you grew up and everything?
Not Jamaica. I am from the Virgin Islands, St. Croix, Virgin Islands. Born and raised. But I came out to America when I was about 13, 14 years old, somewhere around that age. And I went to high school, went to college. That's where I met Brett Booth, and Sean Ruffner.
Sean, yeah.
And after that, all three of us were hired at Wildstorm.
So how did that come about? I know that there was the Homage Studios like talent search, right? Was that that stemmed from that? Was that the Wildcats #2?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they actually had one. The very first talent show called Talent Search. That's the one Brett Booth was acquired in. Where he actually came in as a penciler and everything. This was right after we were in college together, and even before we graduated, we were sitting in class. It was like maybe the last week of school or something like that, and we were just sitting in class, and Brett just threw down X-Men #1 on the table, and he was like, I'm going to work at Image, and me, Sean, and a couple of the guys are sitting here like, what? You going to work at Image? You know, it was nuts. And then
were you in like an art class?
No, we were in some lecture class. I can't remember which one it was. It was, I can't remember.
Yeah,
it was some lecture class. So we were sitting in there, and he threw on a book in front of me, and I'm looking at the book, and I'm like, okay, wow, who's this guy? And he was like, this is Jim Lee. I'm like, this art is amazing.
Oh, so that was your first exposure to
anything?
That was
my first exposure to Jim. Oh. I never even heard of him. And I saw the book, and that's when I made up my mind. I'm going to draw comics.
Did you have any comics or before that, or?
I was more into like the cartoons, you know, like the Justice League cartoons and the Hulk cartoons, Spider-Man cartoons, you know, stuff like that. I was more into, you know, He-Man, Thundercats. I wasn't raised as a comic book artist. I was raised as more of a broadband traditional artist, where I paint, I sculpted, I did all the above. I used to do like makeup effects. I used to do all kinds of crazy stuff like that. I took drama classes. I was in plays. So I was constantly juggling in the arts. I wasn't just focused on comics.
I remember you telling me that you made cardboard Transformers or something, right?
Oh yeah, I made all of them. So when I was, I think I was in the 8th grade. We were. You know, everyone would go to Toys R Us, and we would see the toys, and when I would look at the Transformers toys, I'm like, okay, those toys are not, they don't look anything like the cartoons. I
did that too, actually, yeah.
Cartoon. So I went home and I made the cartoons. I literally hand drew all the toys. I made them in cardboard.
Yeah.
So they had, you know, 4 dimensions, three dimensions. One of my 4 dimensions. They had three dimensions, and and yeah, they all transformed and everything. I had fun playing with that when I was a kid.
It's funny. I'd kind of do that where it's like try to make it accurate to the cartoon. So like, remember Mask? It had stickers on there, and it had the design on it. But then I just make it a flat purple instead of like the cross, because it looked like the cartoon.
Yeah. That's what and then around that time I remember one of the neighborhood kids, he saw him and he was like, oh man, he's like, you should sell this to Toys R Us. I was thinking, that's not a bad idea. I might just have to sell this to Toys R Us, but I don't know.
That's funny. So then what made you want to like start getting into comics? I mean, it was Brett, but you just you saw him drawing stuff, right?
I used to see Brett draw all the time. We used to all hang out at a comic store called Comic Quest. It was in Miami. So we used to hang out there all the time. Even though I was hanging out there, I was really into comics and that, but I never thought, one day I could draw comics. Until I saw the Jim Lee's book, and then that was the kicker for me. When I saw the Jim Lee's book and I made the connection that here's a peer of mine who I sat in class with, he's going to be doing this. I'm like, okay, I got to do this too. So I kind of went in that direction, and it's history now. So I was 25 years ago.
He had already gotten hired at that point.
Yes.
Wow.
He was already hired.
He was like the first. He was the first one, right?
He was one of the first that came in. Brett came in. I remember because it took me a couple months after Brett. I would say maybe 9 or 10 months. Maybe a year after Brett did. But what I actually did was just to give some insights to some people so they can see my work potential. What I did was I wanted to work in comics. So I gave Brett one piece. I did an airbrush piece of Maul, kind of doing this. And it was all airbrushed. I gave it to Brett. I told Brett, show it to Jim. Let me see what he says. The word came back to me. I like it. Let me see more. I'm like, done. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So literally all I do is sit at home and sleep and draw. Sleep and draw. Sleep and draw. Sleep and draw. That's all I did. I only went to my mom's house on the weekends when I wanted extra food. Other than that, all I did was sleep and draw, sleep and draw. And it took me about 6 months. I did one submission a month. And after the sixth one, that's when Jim gave me a call. And I'm like, I'm on the phone with Jim. Like, this is just kind of crazy.
So it was all to Jim, or did you submit to anybody else?
It was I sent it to Brett. And then eventually, during that time when I was sending it to Brett, Sean got a job as a writer. So I'm like, I have two friends of mine that I sat in school with, and so they're both sitting there. So I would send it to both of them. I'd send art to one of them. I can't remember who it was. It was either Brett or Sean. I was sending it to them. And we didn't have email back in the day, so I had to drop everything in the mail and send it to them. I had to go to Kinko's, make a photocopy, drop it in the mail, send it to them. They finally got it, and then I got the call. That was history.
Nice.
Yep.
So did you finish college and stuff like that? Or?
Yes, I did. Yeah, we were actually we all graduated. I have pictures and proof. So we all graduated and everything. And right after we graduated, that's when Brett took off and went off to work at Wildstorm, or it was still Aegis Entertainment, Image Comics,
Homage Studios, right?
Homage Studios back in those days. Yeah.
Oh, did you start off at the Mira Mesa one or the?
Yes, the one in Mira Mesa.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever gone there.
Yeah, when I walked in, Sandra Hope was there. Um, Trevor Scott, Scott Clark, Brett, Sean, Sandra Hope,
Campbell.
Campbell. I think Campbell and I came in right around the same time. We all came in at the same time. So it was me, Campbell came in. It was me, Campbell, Brett, Matt Broom, a couple others. Who was it? But when I got there, Sal Regla was there.
Scott Clark. Right.
Scott Clark, they were all there. So Nick Manabat, he was there.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
So was that technically? It seems like they came in kind of waves. So it's like the first wave. I know I came with like JJ and Rich Friend.
Yeah, I think you guys came in like the third wave.
Yeah.
It was either the third or I think it was the third wave.
Yeah. I was writing down a list of all the waves. I'm like, wow, it keeps on going pretty far. But
yeah.
So from there, what did you start on doing?
I came in the very first week I was in. We went on tour.
Oh, is that Killer Instinct? Or no? Something else.
Death Make Black.
Oh, okay.
Death Make Black tour. So we went on that, and we went to 3 different states. I think we went to LA, then we went to Vegas, and then we went to Phoenix. And I remember getting really sick in Phoenix. That was the worst one. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, so we went on that, and that was like the shocker for me. And then immediately after we came back, that's when they put me on a Soldier Story. It was a short story behind that ended up in the back of Storm March number 7, I think it was, number 7 or 6. And then after that, I did some assisting work on Storm March number 7. And after that, I did Gen 13-0. Then I jumped onto Union.
Yeah.
After Union, I did Grifter. I started off the Grifter series. After the Grifter series, I think I went into Iron Man, the Heroes Reborn, the crossover we did. And then it kind of, went from there.
That Gen 13-0, so you did that, and then when that came out, I looked at that, and I was like, I'm going to take this story and do it as a sample. Did I use it as a sample? I know I kind of redid it, just as a sample. I don't know if I had...
I redrew that issue twice. So I don't remember why or when, but I remember redrawing that entire issue twice because I had improved in my skills, so I had to redraw it.
Yeah.
And I remember it was pretty crazy. Yeah. It was selling out.
It's fun. And then
good money back
then you did Vanguard, which is your own
thing,
right?
Phantom Guard is a story that Sean Ruffner and I came up with back in college. So I was coming up with a space story, and I was just designing some characters. Sean was coming up with a space story, and he hadn't drawn anything. He was just like coming up with ideas. Then he came over to my place one day. He saw it. He was like, "Dude, let's combine this, because I have some characters I'm doing. Let's make a comic book." So this was before we came into Wildstorm. This was we were still in college, just goofing around. And I started drawing, and I made a comic called Phantom Guard. And then years later, when we were in Wildstorm, we pitched to Jim. Jim was like, "All right, let's run it," and we did it. And I think we did about 10 issues or something like that.
Nice.
It was pretty good. Pretty good run.
So how was that? Just getting to do your own thing at that time. I mean, you were drawing, Jim's characters and all those characters, but now it's like now I can tell my own stories and stuff like that, right?
Well, I didn't tell. I left all the storytelling to
Oh,
Sean.
okay.
Sean's writing. I just did the art.
Oh, okay.
I think I inked the first issue, and then after that, that's when Salim came on, and he started. Salim Crawford came on, and he became editor for that. So we did that for, but it was fun, man. You just working on your own book. This is your chance. You know, you're with the third largest company in the world, largest comic company in the world, and you're drawing your own book. So it was pretty cool. Had a lot of fun doing that. Actually, we tried to buy it back from Image, and it was too late at the time. Because DC, they were under that DC.
Oh yeah.
DC merged with them. So it was late, and once it became DC's world, we lost it. It's all DC.
Also, it's technically DC.
Yeah, it was stuck in now it's like locked in the DC archives, collecting dust
forever.
You can't do anything with it.
I wonder if there's any point where it kind of opens up or anything, or is it just forever?
I think in 50 years.
After you're gone.
I don't know. It's something like that. It's like I know it was a couple of years. If DC doesn't do anything with it within a couple of years, it goes back into the free market, and then I can snag it and do whatever I want with it.
That's true, because I remember, I think that's why they do the collected sort of like source books. I remember back in the day they had like Marvel and DC had the source books, and I think they did that so they can publish each character, and I guess that's sort of their way to like say that they're still using the characters.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Exactly.
Yeah.
To restart that whole legal system.
That's cool.
Characters. You never know. I actually think Surge ended up in something somewhere in the past. That's their way of trying to like snag it.
Yeah.
Like you can't touch it. You know. So.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was your work ethic.
Yeah.
I think that's something I always remembered. Just just your energy and like just like just do it, and just like like where did that come from and everything?
Oh, that came from easily. I could say my parents, both my dad and my mom. My dad is a workaholic. He was never home. He was always out working.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was she became a workaholic, not by choice, by
necessity. Right?
She had 3 jobs. She used to work at 7-Eleven. She used to work at the sheriff's office and post office.
Yeah. Wow.
One woman juggling that, raising 3 boys.
Mm-hmm.
So she did that, and I used to see this every day, growing up. So I had to. Became a point. I had to become Joel, who's my brother.
Yeah.
I had to become his father. So I sort of raised him. He's 6 years younger than me, which is something you had to do. So.
Right.
So eating that, it kind of helped plug in my brain, and plus I have this passion, this love for art.
Mm-hmm.
So. Once the creativity kicks in, I just go. I'm just ready to go. Just give me some more paper and let me draw. I'm just ready to keep going.
Yeah,
so,
it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, I mean, sometimes to get it done, you just gotta like go out and do it, right?
Yep. Yeah, you do. You have to go out and just get it. Just do it. Just
don't worry about failure or anything, right? Just learn from it.
Yeah. Don't. This is the thing. A friend of mine, he gave me some pretty good advice. I guess it's good for me, but he told me the thing that what he does to motivate himself is if I don't, he tells himself, he psychs himself out and tells himself, if I don't get this done tomorrow, I'm going to die. I don't want to die, so I'm going to get this done by tomorrow. And so that's what he would tell himself. So I wasn't that, crazier with it, but
Yeah.
but it did light a fire underneath me. Like, here's this guy who's like 15 years younger than me, and he has a fire on him, and he's just coming. He's not stopping. So why should I stop? It's nothing but time and opportunity in front of me. So it kind of helped push me a little bit more too. So I try to tell a lot of young people, a lot of young students about, I try to encourage them and show them examples of my work ethics, and try to help them out, because some people come home, a lot of people, they come home, they're distracted, their cousins, they have their friends, their girlfriends, their boyfriends, their favorite TV show, their PlayStation, they just want to hang out and do stuff, and they're not, no one's really working at their craft. So I try to encourage, you have to dedicate a certain amount of time and hours within your day to work on your craft, sharpen your skill, get better at it. That's the only way you're going to improve. You're not going to improve by just drawing once a week, once every 4 days. You have to pick up that pencil every day and get good at it.
It's an obsession. I mean, that's how I was in college and high school and stuff. I was obsessed with get into comics and stuff like that, and that's how it comes from. So now your own book, Brothers Bond, it's a Eisner nominee, or it was an Eisner nominee, right, for the best webcomic?
Yeah, best webcomic 2018.
Wow,
which completely shocked me. I never even thought about ever submitting anything for the Eisners. I don't draw comics, to get nominated, to get awards. I draw it for the love of it, for the passion. And then my editor was like, "Hey, we're gonna submit your book for an Eisner Award." I'm like, "Okay." So they submitted it, and they put it up against a couple of the books. They have all these books that they put up in there, and it's not just through webtoons. There's all these other digital platforms. So they submitted them, and next I get the word back that I was picked. Like, holy crap, this is nuts.
That's cool.
This is crazy. Not even expecting it. So
cool. So
yeah, it felt good.
Tell me more about that book and kind of what it's about, and like what you did with
so Brothers Bond is a story that
I'll show them your sweatshirt or your
yes. You can I think well, I have them up on my website. You go to brianbenjamin.com. You should be able to get it. I'm going to make sure that the link is working, but you should be able to get it up on there.
Yeah, we'll put links down too. Here.
Okay. So basically, so I started a book a couple years ago, about 4.5 years ago, somewhere, maybe 5. It's been a while since I've been working on it. So about 5 years ago, I started the book, and it came from some frustrations that I was having with working in the normal comic book industry. I felt like I haven't had the chance to truly flex my skills, because here I am penciling, and I'm penciling with a deadline, and I'm penciling trying to get things done, and then when I get it done, an inker takes over, changes it, colorist takes over, changes it even more. So I'm like, at the end of the process, I'm like, it's not what's in my head. So I'm like, I'm happy with it. It looks good, but it's still in the back end, I'm like, I wish I could ink it. I wish I could color it. But I'm in the process. So I decided I'm just gonna make up my own and just have fun, because I need to flex. I need to let this out of my head. So I started thinking, what do I like? I like solo characters. I don't like team characters too much. So I'm like, okay, stick with a solo character. So I started building a character, and I was like, okay, and I was making the main character about 25 years old.
Mhm.
And I was trying to come up with all these different, pieces to the character. And then it just came across my brain. I was like, blind samurais. That's a really cool idea. I was like, all right, it's going to be this kid with two blind samurais, and they're going to go on all these crazy adventures. All right, let me start coming up with more. So I started thinking more. And then eventually, after talking to a friend of mine, he gave me some advice, and then I decided to lower his age from 25 to about 19. I was going to lower it to about 17, the main character, but I brought it to about 19 because I wanted him to have this coming of age type of feel, where he's just turning into a man, because he's still a kid, where he's young enough, but he's stumbling as he's progressing, and then he's still strong enough and young, and he can last and he can fight, and all kinds of stuff. So I was like, all right, let me come up with. So I come up with this story, and as I'm coming, I literally came up with that story talking to my friend Sam Wallace, who's a good friend of mine. So I was just sitting here talking to him, and as I'm talking to him, I'm making up the story as I'm talking to him, and he's just coming to me.
Cool.
And then I'm like, dude, I need to go home and write this down before I forget it. So I went home, started writing, and then as I was writing, I started pushing it a little bit more, changing it, and I started to implement different parts of my life, different things that happen in my family, different things that happen around me, that I know of actual people, that things happen. So I started to implement a lot of it into the story, and then after it took about 2 years of just writing and character development, before I even sat down and started drawing the first page. And that was it. And next, I drew the book. I came out with it. The first time I came out with it was in Japan. I brought it out in Japan. It sold out over there. And I was thinking, man, this is pretty good. I need to do this again. So I went ahead and I had more. I got more books, and then I took it to. I think I took it to WonderCon. It was either WonderCon or Emerald City. And while I was there, that's when Webtoons approached me, and then they were like, "We need this book to be on our platform." I said, "Okay," and they said, "But you have to stop printing." I said, "Okay."
All right.
So I had a meeting with them and everything, and next it's published, and now the whole Eisner thing. So
that's cool. I saw it. Like, it's actually, there's some added dimension of like little animation and stuff like that, right? So,
yeah.
Cool.
So there's a story behind that. Okay, so the motion comic that we had on Webtoons, Webtoons don't do motion comics. This was a test, so testing that whole direction, and they were using me as a test dummy for this. And since I already had like 15 years of animation in games, I just brought all that experience into this. So I started animating and started creating and building assets and started animating using all the tools they gave me, and I was even suggesting stuff for them to improve their tools. So I felt like I was part of the beta team, testing us out, giving them ideas. Like they didn't even have any pinning, or they didn't have any way to anchor a layer, and I had to figure it out. I had to reinvent a back end that and kind of figure it out myself.
What did they do it in?
Them.
Is it like they had to program a whole new thing, or is it in a certain program?
Yeah, they would have to program it, but like the pinning part, they didn't actually reprogram that because they didn't want to. It's a Korean company. I didn't want to argue with them. I was just like, look, you guys, this will totally improve what you guys are trying to do if you can just pin some of these things down. But they didn't want to do it. So I had to figure out a way around it. So I literally had to create a blank layer, which was like use that as my null, and then attach the other layer to that and use that as an anchor. That's how I was able to pin certain things down. So I had to back engineer it. Then eventually, I started testing out. So the problem we were having was that the animation was looking great. The music was coming out amazing. I was getting some pretty good hits, but not everyone can see it. So we were having these issues. So I would launch it, and literally every week you could see the viewership was dropping and dropping and dropping because people were having issues on just seeing the comic. You know, like some people would see it. Some people, when they would download, they would get the first two panels, and then everything was white. Some people would see the video or the animation, but no audio. Some people hear the audio, but no visuals. It was constant. So we kept running into that week after week. So after about a couple of episodes, we decided to stop, rethink everything, reformat everything, and then republish everything. So that's what we ended up doing now.
Yeah, so I know. I remember when I saw it, it seemed to be after all that. So it seemed to be working okay. But so where, if people want to check that out, where do they go?
Go to webtoons.com. You can go to the website, or you can download the app in your favorite app store or wherever.
We'll try to put links down too.
Okay, yeah. So just download, just do a search. Do a search for Brothers Bond. There's 20, 25, 26 episodes up right now. So and then they come out every week. There's a brand new one that comes out every week.
Cool. So that also leads to what you're planning on doing on next with that is another Kickstarter with for your game, right?
The future. All right, so let's talk the future. So basically, I always, since I worked at PlayStation for 11 years, and I worked at another game company for 5 years. I have a good amount of game experience. So I've never made a board game before. So I wanted to make a video game for this, and I started to make one, but then as I was making this, I realized, okay, this is just a lot of work for one guy. So I'm like, maybe it would be easier if I do a board game. So I started to convert it into a board game. And while I was in the process of doing it, I ran into two game designers who that's all they do is make games. And I told them about this, and they were like, we can help you. I was like, done, let's do this. So I hired them, they came on board, and they literally wrote everything out within a short amount of time. And we're just piecing everything together, and they're handling pretty much everything for the game. Well, most of it, as far as the wireframe, they're handling all of that. And this is what they do. They're gamers. They think in that direction already. So it works perfectly. So actually, it was three guys I hired that came on. So three of them came on, and they started doing some work. So eventually, right now we're constantly hiring even more and more people. There's more and more people coming on board. One of the latest guys who I just acquired, maybe I should not announce it. I don't know, but his name is Brent Ash. He does a lot of packaging designing. He did stuff for Halo. He did stuff for Assassin's Creed and a couple of the games. So he's going to be doing a lot of the packaging for this. So the guy is amazing. I got a ton of skills. And we're just going to just keep bringing more and more heat to this. So right now, I literally just brought on a couple more artists who's going to help build the figures for this. So they're going to be coming on board to help it out. I'm going to have a ton of figures since I like art and I love like getting involved with that side of things. To me, it feels like the whole world there's a lot of room to go, and there's a lot of things I want to build for this. So we're not ready to launch the Kickstarter yet. So we just kind of did a soft pitch out there just to kind of warm people up. But the Kickstarter will be launching pretty soon. I want to say within the next month. So once we have that launched, we will announce it. We'll let people know, and then. So for now, I'll just say just follow me on Instagram. It's at RYANBNJMN.
Okay.
So just follow me on Instagram. I will announce everything on there on my Facebook and on Twitter. Also, that's my handle for all three of them.
Yeah, we'll put more links down
Also,
somewhere.
somewhere down there.
here.
Cool. And then I'm also going to be advertising on Brothers Bond, the actual comic itself. So on the back of the comic book, I put ads on the back of it. So I'm going to let all the fans know all about the game, which I already started to advertise, but there's going to be more. So it's coming out. I know people they're going to like it. These guys, they're hardcore gamers. This is what they do. I'm a gamer myself. So yeah, it's what it's to me. It's all fun. I'm not doing this to make a buck. I'm doing this for the fun of it because I just love it. I'm like, I can get this into. I want to get doing it. You know?
That's cool. So I mean, what's your plans? Just to continue on Brothers Bond for a while?
Yeah, I'm just going to continue on Brothers Bond for a while. I have a couple more stories I'm cooking in the background. I don't want to talk about them yet, but I will announce them probably later on this year. I will announce them, but there's 2 more stories that I'm actually working on. So we'll see what comes out of those.
Okay. Maybe we can do another stream or another thing.
Oh yeah,
later on.
And I've already written out the second season for Brothers Bond. So it's some really cool stuff. I'm turning it up. I'm turning up the heat on this one.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Cool.
It's already out.
Okay.
It's ready to go. If I could find an artist to draw it for me, that would be great. That way I can move on to other stuff because I have like 4 more stories like right behind that. So I'm also going to be teaching. So I'm starting up a workshop. It's coming up this year. We're going to launch the first one in around June. When I say we, it's going to be me, Will Sportasio.
Oh wow.
Carlos Deanda.
Nice.
And Alex Sinclair. So we're going to launch a boot camp workshop class for people who want to get into comics, and we're going to be teaching people this stuff here pretty soon. So we're going to be launching the first one in about June, and we're going to announce it, and we're going to let people know about it a lot earlier than that. But the first one's going to happen in around June. So.
Cool.
So get ready for it. If you want to do that and you're in the LA area, that's where we're going to have the first one. So if you want to, just come on down and take one of the classes, or take the whole class, because it's going to last a couple of days. So take the whole class. You'll be able to come in, go through the boot camp, and by the end of it, you guaranteed you're going to improve your skills, because we're not going to soft pedal this to you guys. We're going to really put you guys in the grind, and we're going to turn up the heat and make people work. And by the end of this, they're going to walk out knowing, improving their skills 10, 15, 20, 30% from when they walked into the door. So I guarantee it'll happen, because we've been practicing, we've been working on this for a while behind the scenes, and it's going to be there.
Cool. So. Yeah, let me know when you're up. Maybe I'll.
Oh yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know when it's going to happen. So, and the plan is to invite more artists. You know, right now we're starting off with like a small batch of artists, and then eventually we're going to have more professional artists come in and teach some of these courses. So.
Okay.
Plan.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, well, thanks for being on today.
Yes.
It's very, very enlightening. Yeah. Good luck on your Kickstarter and everything, and your classes. And
yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
See ya.